Hey y'all, this is Angela, and welcome to the show Hodgepodge. This show is not about one thing, this show is about everything. Because in this old crazy world that we're living in, there is lots to discuss. So I hope you'll sit back, relax, and enjoy the show. Now let's get started with today's episode. Hey y'all, and welcome to another episode of Hodgepodge with Angela. I hope you all had a fabulous Thanksgiving, or if you're listening to this later on in the year, I hope you've had a fabulous Thanksgiving and Christmas and New Year's and Valentine's or whatever holidays that's come and gone. But I am glad that you're here and listening to another episode of my madness. Make sure that you share this on your social media platforms if you would. I would greatly appreciate that. And if you have not started following the show, please go over to the platforms that you listen on. Make sure you follow it there. And could you give me a rating if you would? I'm trying to get this out to more people. And if you would just share, I would really appreciate it. So the title of this podcast today is Don't Be a Richard. And you might be thinking, well, I don't really know what that means. Technically, if you think about the name Richard, a lot of times people whose names are Richard, we shorten it to Dick. So actually the title of this podcast today is Don't Be a Dick. And I didn't want to put that in the subject line because I don't know who's listening to this. It goes to my church and I don't want to offend anybody. But sometimes you just have to say what it is. You know what I mean? Like if you got somebody that's being a total jerk and they're being a total dick, you just have to say it. And I keep a little binder. If you guys watched my planner video, you saw this over on YouTube. But I keep a binder of all my show notes. Anytime a show comes to mind, I write it down because I'm 52 now and I don't retain things like I used to, but I write everything down in my book. And this makes me want to start adding a date that I write this in, because this has been in my book for quite some time when I wrote the idea for this show in here. So it's been in my book for a long time and I've been marinating on it. And where the idea for this came from is one day hubby B and I were out having lunch. We're at this local burger place and there were people in front of us and people behind us, but in front of us was a man and two boys. Now, my guess is, just by standing there and listening to him talk while they placed their order, it was a man, his son, and his friend. So my guess is that they invited this boy to join them for lunch. Otherwise, he wouldn't have been there, right? Right. So they invited him to come to lunch. So my thought is if you invite someone, you should pay for their food. Now, not everybody agrees with that, and especially if you have, you're going somewhere and your child's bringing a bunch of people, maybe you can't afford to pay for everybody's food. But this day, it was a man, a boy, and two boys. So we're standing in line. The kid goes to place his order, and he's like, oh, I forgot my money in the car. And instead of this man saying to this boy, well, I'll get it, don't worry about it, he says, okay, we'll wait. Now, not the cashier or the person taking his order. The family that he's with says, okay, we'll wait. And hubby B and I looked at each other and we're like, really? He's going to make this kid run back out to the car and get his $5 to pay for his burger? And I know a lot of people may say, well, $5, if the kid was going, he should be willing to pay. And I get that. The man could have paid for it. The kid could have given his money back when they got into the car. Or the man could have just paid for it. I mean, if you're going, and this wasn't a Burger King. This is kind of a higher end burger place. And if you're going there, you know about what the food costs, unless you haven't been there before, but you see what it costs. So you should have the money to eat there, which is my point. So if you're going and you're inviting this kid to come, then okay, it's probably going to cost about $10 for this kid, to come. And I was just so mad that this man didn't pay for this little boy's food. And this kid was probably 8 or 9 years old. So he was probably embarrassed because he's standing there and he don't have his money. And he's got to run back out to the car to get his money. And you don't park in front of this restaurant. It's really weird the way that it's laid out because you have to kind of park off to the side. So it was effort to go get the money. when all this man had to do was say, I'll get it and you can pay me back when we get in the car. But that led me to start paying attention to how mean people are in the world, and how mean and how people are just not thoughtful anymore. For example, right after this, I was going into Walmart or Target or somewhere, and a lady's walking out. I'm going in, the same door or whatever. She just lets the door go right in my face. She doesn't hold it. She doesn't say, excuse me. She doesn't, let me grab it. She just closes the door right in my face. And I'm thinking to myself, well, aren't you just a hateful thing? And sometimes you have to chalk it up to, well, maybe she's having a bad day. Or, somebody might be listening, well, maybe she didn't see you. No, she saw me. I was right in front of her, and she just let that door go right in my face. I've noticed things like that. People don't let you out. If you're coming out of a parking lot, they won't let you out. People will run up on you now at stoplights and all that. There's just, they're quick to go around you. I mean, everybody's driving now. It's so aggressive here where I live. I don't know if you guys have noticed it, but it just seems like people have just gotten so aggressive and mean. And my nephew used to always tell me when we were driving, if somebody wasn't going, like you get to the red light and somebody's not going, he's like, toot the horn, Angela. And I'm like, I'm not tooting the horn now at anybody, because you never know nowadays if people are going to pull out a gun and shoot you, come over to your car with a baseball bat and, start beating on your car, because people are mean now. And it's so sad, but that's where we are here in the world today. And the point of this podcast today is just be nice, especially this time of the year. We just had Thanksgiving and we're moving into the Christmas season. And I don't know about y'all, but Christmas makes me happy. And I love all the decorations and I love the lights. And I know there's a lot of sadness at Christmas. And I know there's a lot of times that parents can't give their kids what they want them to have. But you can always be thankful and grateful for what you do have. If you have a kid, be thankful for that kid. Spend time with that kid. As I posted in a couple podcasts weeks ago, it's not always about a gift. It's about time, and spend time with your kids, and just be grateful for what you do have. If you're listening to this podcast, chances are you have a nice phone that you're listening to it on, or you're riding in a car that you're listening to it on, or you're listening to it on a computer. So be grateful that you have those items that you can listen to this rambling on. But the point of my podcast today, and you guys know that I don't like to do long podcasts because I don't want to hear myself talk, and I'm sure y'all don't want to keep hearing me talk. But let's just try to be nice to each other. And, I post questions a lot of times, and you can go in to the podcast show notes and you can click on the link to answer the question. But in today's show notes, I'm going to post a link that says the last time you were nice to somebody, what you did to make someone happy or smile. Did you walk past that person in the Walmart and say hello? Or did you give someone your buggy, that was coming in, and you were taking it to the carousel and they're getting out? You say, hey, you need a buggy? And you gave them your buggy. Or just something that you did that was nice for somebody. Last night I went to church and there was a couple ladies standing behind me, and we were having this little event at church, and we were all in the apple cider line. So I just started pouring apple cider up for them. And I mean, just sometimes those little bitty those little bitty things just make someone's day. So in this crappy old world that we're living in, which I do love, I still love America. And I'm glad to be here, and I'm glad God put me in America. But during this holiday season, don't be a Richard. Be nice to everybody that you can. And I know that there's some people that no matter what you do, they're not going to smile. They're not going to be thankful. They're not going to be happy. And you just have to not worry about those people, but be nice to everybody else. So as I end this podcast today and this rambling, just remember, be nice. And as soon as I said that, it made me think about the movie Roadhouse and Patrick Swayze. And when Patrick Swayze, if you guys have seen the movie, you recall the scene where he's sitting there with all the bouncers, and they're like, well, what do I do if they do this or they do that? The drunks that come to the bar or whatever. And he's like, just be nice. And so that's what I'm going to challenge you with over this holiday season, is to just be nice. So thank you so much for listening to my rambling today. I hope you guys do enjoy the podcast. Like I say, I try to keep them light and fun. But anyway, if you will just share this on your social media platforms and go into the show notes and answer the question how you were, or if somebody was nice to you and it made you feel good, if somebody smiled at you or said hello or, paid for your breakfast in the McDonald's park or drive through or something, let me know, because when I read things like that, it makes me really happy and it lets me know that there is still some goodness left in the world. But as always, thank you for listening. I hope you guys have a fabulous day. And till next time, bye, y'all.